All right, it's Wednesday night, and it's come to this. It's the last podcast of the regular season. We'll get into some playoff podcasts, definitely, and we'll do some year in review stuff in the next couple of weeks. But this is it, basically. It's been a great season. Not for myself on the field quite as much, but, we're heading into the home stretch here. So waivers and trades, obviously not a lot of money left, so nothing too interesting. I got the Seahawks defense for my last dollar, and I'm all in on the Seahawks, baby. I'm starting Tavares Jackson. I'm starting Marshawn Lynch. I'm starting the Seattle D. It's my last-ditch effort to win $50. They play the Rams in the worst Monday Night Football game of all time. So, hopefully I can get something going. Plotzker picks up Ed Dixon for $1. I'm not quite sure why. I guess, they play the Colts this weekend. He had been starting Scott Chandler, who is the walking definition of fantasy unreliability. All right, so, as I mentioned last week, we're kind of abandoning the power rankings. For the first time in league history, there's no real Week 14 drama. There's nothing too crazy that's going to go down. Our 4 playoff teams were decided last weekend due to Justin's horrible weekend. The clown suit is basically in Ariel's mailbox already. Really the only thing worth watching is the cash grab between these 4 playoff teams. Denneberg, Plotzker, and Ted have already locked down $300 as winners of their respective divisions. As far as the money race, Plotzker is trying to tie or overtake. Oh, I'm sorry, other way around. Ted is trying to tie or overtake Plotzker for a split of or all the first place cash, while Denneberg finds himself in a similar position, trailing Oaks. As it stands right now, Plotzker at 20-6 would take home $800 for first place. Ted is at 19-7, would win $400 for second place, and Oaks at 17-9 would win $200 for third. However, there's a lot left to be decided. Ted has a big edge on Plotzker, more than 100 total points, so he'll win any tiebreaker. Obviously, if they end up tying, we'll do a little split of the cash. And the same is true about Oaks and Denneberg. Oaks has an edge of almost 170 total points over D. So, it's really going to be interesting what happens this weekend as far as the money's concerned. Analyzing their schedules, obviously the most interesting matchup is Oaks and Plotzker play each other straight up. So, Oaks has his beloved Romo-Witten combo against the Giants. The Giants love to give up touchdowns. But Arian Foster has a slightly tough matchup with the Bengals. And looking at Plotzker's schedule, Plotzker plays Oaks and he plays Billy. Just to analyze a little bit about Oaks' team. Billy, on the other hand, really, shouldn't be much of an issue for Plotzker. Breeze and Darren Sproles are outside the dome for the first time in what feels like months. They're taking on the Titans while Carson Palmer's playing the Packers. I can kind of see Carson Palmer throwing like 9 interceptions in that game. Plotzker, he gets Rodgers. He has Nelson against the Raiders, who have a pretty marginal defense, and the always productive Shady McCoy is playing the Dolphins, but I'm sure he's going to score a couple touchdowns as he always does. I would believe that Plotzker is going to go 2-0 this weekend, and he's going to claim first overall seed, and he's going to get all that sweet cash that comes with it. Looking at Ted's schedule down the stretch, Ted plays Oaks and he plays Bootsy. Ted's big quarterback combo, Brady and Newton, they get some nice matchups. They play the Redskins and the Falcons, respectively. However, the good feelings kind of stop there. Ted can't really possibly expect another massive outburst from Pierre Garçon, and something tells me that Jimmy Graham's productivity might be, bothered a little bit by being outside, being in Tennessee. I don't think he's going to be quite as dominant as he's been the last couple of weeks. I would say, meanwhile, Ted's other opponent, Oaks, has some nice matchups, as I just touched on. Ted plays Oaks, Ted plays Bootsy. Bootsy has Tebow against the Bears and Stafford against the Vikings. I think depressingly for him, Ted will go 1-1. That'll leave him in second place. Looking at Oaks' schedule, Oaks plays Plotzker and Oaks plays Ted. Plotzker has the Packers. They're sort of set up for a big week. Ted is going to be kind of devoid of points outside of his 2 quarterbacks. I would say, as I've said, Oaks is going to get some solid production from Romo, from Witten. Chris Johnson is really stepping up. So I think Oaks will go 1-1 and a lock up third place cash. And then Denneberg plays myself and Ariel. Ariel actually had a really good week last week. He has nice matchups this week. He's playing Grossman, who gets New England's shitty pass defense, and Ryan Matthews and Sean Green have been pretty hot lately. Meanwhile, my team, I think, has amazing matchups. Ray Rice gets the Colts. Marshawn Lynch, as I just mentioned earlier, is at home against the Rams on Monday Night Football. Des Bryant gets a crack at the Giants secondary. Denenberg's big Wallace-Roethlisberger combo. They're going to get the surprisingly top-ranked Cleveland pass defense on Thursday night. Vic is coming back for him, but it's just in time to face the suddenly scary Dolphins on the road. I would say look for Denenberg to go 0-2 and miss out on any additional cash. And then, I know I might have mentioned this last week. I mentioned it again for those of you following the @Coulrophobics Twitter feed. The clown race is basically over. It's been over for about a week now. Ariel went 2-0, which was, impressive, but he's still 2 wins back, and he's still 145.4 points behind Deutsch in the clown race. So in order to surpass him, he would need to not only win while Deutsch goes 0-2, but he would also need to make up a margin of 145 points, meaning he would have to put up, at the very least, he would have to put up 190 to 200 points this weekend. Considering that's never been done before, I can't imagine Ariel's team is going to do it now. That's why I feel like Ariel has been a lock for so long. All right, open up the old mailbag for the last time. Thanks for getting in some extra questions. As I mentioned, I'm a little devoid of content because I'm done talking about my team, Krause's team, Bootsy's team, Billy, Ben, all the fair to Midland, need not apply. So get a crack at the old mailbag. First question, Mr. Bauer, there has been talk about creating a super fantasy league. Please give your opinion on this, Brian Deutsch. Well, Brian, I've reserved judgment on this topic for a little while, but here it is. This is a terrible, terrible idea. I would enjoy, this multi-sport super league, maybe if I was like 17 years old, and then even then I would probably get tired of it after about 3 weeks. Beyond just being annoyingly complicated, I feel like it would taint our beautiful football league. I'm not trying to see Oaks get fucking Tom Brady because he traded John Salmons, Avengi Malkin, and 30 baseball draft dollars to Ted. In theory, it might be fun. It's not going to happen. We already have a fantastic football league. Brandwine runs a pretty good hockey league. I know we only have 8 guys, and we could always use a few more. So if you guys are dying to do fantasy hockey, next year, feel free to join that. I'm the 2-time champion of a nice baseball league that I know more than a few of us are in. Billy, Ben, Rifkin, me, Oaks. I think we all have our own basketball stuff going on. I know I'm in a really good league. There's no need for this monstrosity. All right, next question. Directly related to our first question, this says, Dear Mr. Bauer, is Brian Deutsch the worst fantasy manager ever? If next year he finishes second to last for the 4th straight year, should we have 2 clown nights? Twinkle, twinkle, Jason Plotzker. And actually, as an addendum, after Deutsch sent out his question to everyone, Plotzker sent me a note saying, please ask my question after Brian's and state that I think he should learn to not suck at one fantasy sport before taking on several concurrently. So points well made, Plotzker. Believe it or not, Deutsch actually has finished in second to last each of the last 3 years. He's the only player to finish in the same spot all 3 years. Unless obviously he can somehow magically find some way to let Ariel overtake him this weekend. He has yet to don the clown suit. I think we have to refrain from referring to him as the worst manager ever. I respect Deutsch for taking some risks. Things really haven't worked out for him. Made a couple poor draft moves each of those years. My advice would be next year, if things are kind of trending the same way and he's headed towards the penultimate spot for a 4th straight time, I would say maybe he should just go all in, head straight for the clown suit. That's what I'm saying. Sell off some pieces and just tank it and wear that clown suit with pride. It worked for Rifkin. All right, next question. This is a multi-part question. Number 1, with Plotzker's feelings about everyone in the league out in the open, who would you list as your favorite person in the league? In other words, if you had to drive from New York to L.A., factoring in a stop in Las Vegas, and you can only go with one person from the Coulrophobics Anonymous, who would it be and why? Part 2, with Hauer and Brandwine seemingly reinterested in rejoining Coulrophobics Anonymous, what do you think about the potential of kicking one player out each year? This could either be decided by vote, silent or public, by one person's choosing, most logically the champion of the regular season or the Super Bowl, or just by whoever finishes last. And 3, where do you stand on the multi-sport fantasy league proposal? All right, taking them in order. These are tough questions, but for those of you who haven't seen Plotzker's maniacal and personally invasive league owner rankings, I would suggest asking him for a copy, as they're pretty hilarious. If I had to take a road trip of that distance with anyone in the league, frankly, I'd have to choose the only guy in the league that I have already taken a cross-country road trip with, Andy Oakes. We left Bloomington, Indiana freshman year at precisely 3 a.m. As we had calculated the precise amount of time we would need to get from IU to Athens, Georgia, in time to watch Indiana lose to Vanderbilt in the first round of the NIT the next day in Horvey's dorm room. And then the next day after that, we drove from Athens down to Panama City Beach, Florida, and then at the end of the trip, we drove all the way back. So I would have to go with Andy just because I know I can trust him to sleep most of the way and then drive when I wake him up in Kentucky and he drinks disgusting gas station coffee. All right, part 2. I don't think Brandwine is interested in joining, frankly. He doesn't want to pay the entry fee. He's too salty that we've moved on without him. I would welcome Hauer in, but I'd hate to kick anyone out. I feel like we have a pretty nice thing going here. I know Bill Simmons runs a league like that where they boot someone every year. Frankly, I'm against it just because I would feel like shit if I got kicked out. All right, and third part, I just addressed this in Deutsch's question, but to reiterate, I'm opposed to the Mega Sport Super Fantasy League. I'm way too lazy to be involved in that. All right, last question. This is also a 3-parter. I think you should give a little preview of what to expect at T-Box, the 12 Bars of Christmas this Saturday. Who will leave the bar first? Who will puke? Who will go home with the hottest, ugliest girl? Kicked out of a bar fight? Kicked out of a bar/fight. I don't know if that means kicked out of a fight or kicked out of the bar or kicked out of the bar because you're fighting, but I think I get it. Part 2, since you lived in Milwaukee for a year, you could also share your thoughts on whether the Clown Night in Milwaukee is a good idea. And part 3, fantasy related, now that the year is over, aside from Newton being the best pick, worst pick, best or worst free agents, most surprising team, most disappointing team, what are your predictions for next year? All right. Well, I've been attending T-Box now for the last 3 years, and let me reiterate, don't buy a ticket. I know it's too late, some of you already have, but do not buy a ticket. Regretfully, I won't be able to make it this year. I'm going to be skiing in Vail and watching the Bears get demolished by Tebow Mania in person at Invesco Field. But, based on completely nothing, here are my T-Box previews. I would say Ben will leave the bar first, as he's going to have some type of formal event to attend, but he'll be back a few hours later. Plotzker will puke, but it's not going to be because he's drunk. It's going to be him honoring the request of a stripper with a strange sexual fetish when he's at the Pink Monkey later. I would say Oakes will go home with the hottest girl, but end up just eating a tombstone and passing out. And then I would say you, actually, I should have addressed this. The questions all came from Ariel. I was going to say you, Ariel, will go home with the ugliest girl, but you'll make her wear the clown costume while you bang her, so her horrible visage shouldn't be much of an issue. All right, part 2. I did live in downtown Milwaukee for a full year. I can say that without a doubt, having Clown Night there would be incredible. Milwaukee has 2 main blocks, 3rd Street, Water Street. They run parallel to each other on either side of the river. Within that sort of couple block radius, there's close to 30 bars. It's all Scotties up there. I think the clown costume will play wonderfully. People are going to love it up there. We don't have to worry about not being let into any bars. There's no snobby, nothing like Hubbard Street. No one's going to give us any attitude because we're rolling around with a guy in a clown suit. Furthermore, it's cheap as shit up there. Even on a Saturday night, you can frequently find yourself paying like $2 for a beer, shots for under $5. There's cheap hotels right downtown. Frankly, Milwaukee for a clown night is a must. It's one of the best ideas we've ever had in this league. We'll definitely do it sometime in January or February or whatever. In regards to your last point, Ariel, I'm going to address all these things: best pick, worst pick, free agents, surprising teams, disappointing teams. I'm going to address all of it in the league awards ceremony, which will be held on Clown Night. A quick prediction for next year, though: Oakes will be clown. All right, that about wraps it up. Thanks for listening. Thanks for getting in some of those extra mailbag questions. If I didn't get the point across, and I need to remind you again, I would strongly recommend following at Coulrophobics on Twitter. Despite Bootsy's best efforts, I look forward to using it for entertaining purposes, especially during the games. But, that's about it. Thanks for listening, and we'll get out a schedule shortly for how we're going to handle some end-of-year stuff. But good luck to all the playoff teams, and good luck getting that money.